coming. This event was made possible by, of course, the usual help of Equity Studies Students Union. My name is Fasika. I am a member of Advar Debate Society. We have something similar last time. The title was what was it? Yeah, inequity of advocacy voices, meaning why we don't have voices, or like why we don't see much coverage when it comes to the cases of third world countries, or the so-called third world countries, such as Ethiopia and the rest of African nations. This is something like that, but a little bit different. This time we're trying to cover the land grab cases, or in other words, the second scramble for Africa, which is a neo-colonization in my understanding. And our main speaker today on my right is Mr. Obang Metho, and also the second speaker is Daneil Tilahun. He's also a member of Advar Debate Society. That he works with to put, this investigations, findings, reports together. And also, Mr. Tilahun will be speaking about the legal perspective, or the consequences of this land or trade agreements, and what can happen if we're not acting on time. So you'll be learning a lot from them, I'm hoping, and I'm looking forward for both of the speeches. Mr. Metho, thank you for coming again. So he will start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to stand up you or sitting down? Okay, thank you, Pasika. I will try to make my presentation shorter, and I had written, if there's someone that really you're missing out, let me know. We'll try to make it available online. So what I'm going to give you is the summary of what I'm going to talk about. As Fasika put it and said that the second scramble for Africa, what did that mean? I think that's really what I want each one of you to know. Number one is we are talking about the land grab. What does the land grab mean? And then also Fasika did mention that the neocolonial of Africa, and what does that mean? So I really want to start in thanking Fasika, and then also the Advars, and then the University of Toronto for giving us this opportunity to talk about the land grab or the resource in Africa. I would like to start by saying that the continents of Africa for years and years has been one of the most richest in terms of natural resource, but the people who live in that continent really barely benefit from it. That's why I think that we call it the scramble, the second scramble for Africa. Looking back, the number one most precious resources in Africa that the outsider came to look for, it was not gold or diamond or water. It was actually people, the African peoples. And then those resources were used, meaning that hunting the Africans, bringing them in the West to build the nations we call today the first worlds. That's a factual. The historian will tell me much more, will tell you much better than I do. And then the second wave was going up to the resource, and then also they're dividing the continent. And now, I think the Africans today, they are much more vulnerable today than before, because the things which their very life depended on, which is land, is being given away to foreign countries. Right now, 123 million acres of land is to be leased in Africa by India, Saudi Arabia, China, South Korea, you named it. Some of the land, let me give you just an example. 1 acre of land in France is $725. In Ethiopia is 99 cents for 99 years. You know, that's why people call it a land grab. To make the matter worse, these lands are being given away by the regimes that are in power. Most of these regimes are not elected. The local people have never been consulted. Here in Toronto, for instance, if you want to rent a car, at least you will sign more than more than 5 or even 6 places. And sometimes the contract is more than 3 pages. For instance, in some of these places where there's a land grab going on, in Ethiopia, for example, the contract of 99 years for 99 cents is 2 pages. And the local people even don't know. It's never been debated in the parliament. The city council here in Toronto, if someone wants to cut down the trees, they will debate on it. But in the continent, it's not. So that's why I say that really, one good example is not only the land. Almost there is minerals that 96% of the telephone, cell phones, and computers, 96% of that mineral for any cell phone or any computer in this world was from Congo. Today, Congo is one of the most poor countries. So in other words, the continents of Africa, I repeat again, is being abused, neglected, used by the outsiders, but also that outsider has to come through somebody. The exploiter would never come in had there not been any group in that place. Going back to historically of slavery, the European, when they came to Africa, they have to ally with certain African, the most effective or the king, the most who have the power, to go and hunt the weak and the vulnerables. Otherwise, the European would have never done it by themselves. The same applies today. Maybe that a diamond in Congo or a land in Ethiopia, a oil in Nigeria, you named it. They are outsiders and they come through the so-called regimes that which are in power. And today, in the world now where we live in, and I always say it, finding a oil in your land is like finding a tumor in your brain to those people who are indigenous or the people in those places. The view or what is going on in the continent, to most of the peoples, when you talk about Ethiopia, let's say for example, people know that Ethiopia is a place where people are starving to death and they cannot feed themselves. Almost the whole entire country for the last 50, 60, 100 years are starving to death. And also to make the matter worse, actually African in 1952, they used to feed themselves much more than they are today. And today there's